everybody, and welcome to SA Rugby Magazine. I'm Kevin Ferguson. I've got Scott Gibbs and Zell Nell. Scotty, we are going to let Zell speak during this cast, but let's just chat a little bit about our weekend away at Pazula. Amazing facilities. They treated us so well, and we had Os up there to watch the game with and have a chat to. He's the biggest human being I have ever seen in my life, by a huge distance.
And you got long arms. You couldn't even,
I've been
give him
accused
a
of
bear hug.
No, it was like hugging a slab of granite.
Yeah.
Man mountain still, and fit as a fiddle.
Yeah. 6'3", 240.
Yeah.
He says his knees are screwed a little bit, but
Been replaced, I think. Yeah. What a wonderful gentleman! What an absolute legend! It was a great weekend.
It starts with the drive, doesn't it? And I mean, for all those following from overseas, the most beautiful drive up the Western Cape to Denisner, Pazula, pitched right up on the
hill.
On the hill there.
Yeah.
Great hospitality, great friendship, great catching up with Oz. We had the ability to sit in the barn, watch the Aussie test together. Just fantastic.
Oh, well, when you hugged him, I thought you'd left the room because he just enveloped you.
You disappeared.
Yeah. Well, and I was.
And he was incredibly open.
Yes.
Incredibly open.
Yeah. So stay tuned for that.
Those
interviews.
We'll knit that together and put it out this week sometime.
Yeah.
It's a fair bit of content to digest, but he talked about his time with the cheetahs,
the cats,
Rassie, his gold medals and his bronze medal.
Yeah, you were gutted he had 3.
Yeah.
You thought he only had 2 over you. Yeah. Anyway, it was quite fun. It was quite fun. The highlight for me had to be, though, when some boykie up there said we were doing a tequila shot, Monty's El Centurion, and the guy was starting to explain to Os how to do it. And Os, great sport, just looked at him, and one of the guy's friends said, "Are you seriously telling Os how to fucking drink a tequila?" And the whole bar just cracked up. It was great stuff. Great stuff. Anyway, let's get into the game. We were a bit distracted. You were in Honeston. What are your thoughts, Zell, on how the Boks played? Because you and Mark had done a show last week where you talked about 10 changes, which is unheard of, really, in rugby these days. But me and Scott did think that the depth warranted 10 changes, and as it turned out, Rassie was right again, and the Boks comfortably won by 18. What was your take on the game?
I think Rassie is just sort of breaking the mold. Like when you put peanut butter on toast and you drop it, it always lands on the peanut butter side, right? But with Rassie, that's not happening. I mean, he made 10 changes. They're playing in Perth. I mean, it's a deluge that they're playing in. They're underwater with 10 guys, some of whom you could argue are out of position. Jan-Hendrik Wessels came through as a hooker, now is at loose head. They lose their skipper early on to a concussion. Yeah. And they put up what is close to a record score in Australia. Like, we don't score 30-plus points in Australia every time we go there. When we did it in that 2013 win in Brisbane, I think 38 was the highest point score we've ever done in Australia. So I know the Wallabies are at a low ebb, but the reality is that these guys are getting the job done, And it doesn't matter what's going on in the kitchen. When you get the burger, you want it to be the burger, and it must have fries. And like, the Boks are delivering. The points are there, the results are there. All the garnish is there, Yeah. It's not the wrong order. So you've got to tip your hat to them. I don't think it was a great performance. It's not a game I'm going to watch back 20 times or talk about in the future as being a great Springbok performance. But again, the result was there. It's overseas. You're in terrible conditions. Lots of changes. And job done.
Scotty, what's your take?
Yeah, it was a doozy of a game. It didn't captivate your kind of imagination at all. The fact is that the Boks for me now are just developing this counter-attack game, which is a real threat, because this is where they're scoring a hatful of tries, and certainly for Fassie's try, to take that in that type of conditions was well engineered, because they got some great shape and squareness, and the ability for them to work off the ball and get behind the ball in counter-attacking positions is just another aspect of their game that they're developing.
Yeah.
But you're right, Australia are just, there's some way to go, And the fact is that they were competitive at halftime, 11-9.
Almost
That
won,
missed
yeah.
penalty
Yeah.
maybe could have changed things, but the fact is, Test match rugby in those type of conditions is not really what we're accustomed to and what we like to dial into.
Yeah.
And with Australia, I think there is some work to be done. They'll muddle on through this season, but I think Joe Smith will want to have access to the players in the off-season, have a strong conditioning aspect to them going forward in lieu of the British and Irish Lions arriving next winter. And I dare see he will reach out to the fraternity of rugby league for some coaching expertise in attack and in defence, just to start to galvanise some tougher aspects in the effort areas.
But do you, Z, do you see any talent on the in depth in Australia to even give the British and Irish Lions a game?
No, I got to be honest, I don't. I don't see a lot of guys here that I think are going to explode and be the next echelon of Joe Roffs and Stephen Larkhams. But none of that really matters. The point is they've got the Lions on their way to Australia, and they've got to roll up their sleeves and get, put some points on the board.
You've got to find
represent.
cohesion, haven't you? You've got to find a unity. You've got to go back to this. Well, what is our identity? How can we take this forward in very, very small incremental steps? Because there's no huge amount of talent and players coming back in to bolster the size, the physicality, the aggression. So it is about finding those 1%, and whether there's some improvement in the rugby championship to come through and in the autumn internationals, I don't know. But I think the general consensus will be is that we gotta fight. We gotta fight for our honour. We gotta fight for every inch of our game, because the fact is they had some minutes in the first 40 where they were competitive. They kept the scoreboard. They controlled possession. So there are some glimmers of hope. But the fact is that they need to find a much more substance in their overall game, and that comes with individuals and combinations and obviously getting dominance and parity to some degree in the set piece.
Yeah, I think that my quick take on the game was that they were a little bit more physical, certainly in the first 40 minutes. But that's about it. The Springboks could have easily been up by a dozen points or more in the first half, if not for that, that
drop ball,
yeah,
finish up.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why there is so much expertise in rugby league in Australia, and if that can be transferred into an ideology and a communication and an amplification of the physicality brought in those effort areas, you could see a 10-15% improvement, which then gives them a lot more comfort and a lot more animation. Because we're not seeing anything from the Wallabies at the moment that can potentially be a dangerous outfit.
I think Scott's 100% on the money. The improvement in Australia is not going to come from players because they don't have them. It's going to have to come from some sort of coaching influence. And I think that the Wallabies and the Kiwis have investigated and kind of explored the rugby league avenue before. And I'm not saying there's not learnings from that department, but I almost feel like they need to go find somebody in rugby who has a track record of turning turds into golden nuggets and invest in those guys, specialists to come in and improve.
You mean an alchemist?
Basically, yeah. I'm not sure it's like a system thing, right? I think it's you actually need to go find the guy that can do that and bring that guy.
Yeah, unfortunately, I just don't see anybody. But but dark days for Australian rugby. And so how much? Let's start again with Zels, because God, I get panel beaten. No, but I get panel beaten. I can't believe it. Just let Zels speak. He's the GOAT.
I think it's because I eat anything.
Well, that's known to be true. So when you're looking at, because you look at New Zealand, they hammered Argentina. But what was obvious to me with Argentina was they didn't show up on the day. They didn't show up at all. They accomplished what they wanted to accomplish. They probably only got back to their rooms the night before that.
Well, that's what I was going to say. If you look closely, they're actually still wearing their kit from the first test. They have never been back to the hotel, mate.
Exactly, and that was so evident in the game.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at these games and handicapping them or whatever, or picking a winner, you look at on form. How good is South Africa's form and how bad is Australia's form?
I'll tell you know what you're saying.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just reticent of kind of getting into the thing where every week we're going to say, oh, look, the Boks are good, but the guys they're playing are just terrible.
No, but I think this is very specific to Australia right now.
Yeah.
Because obviously in 2 weeks' time, or less than that now, but it's the All Blacks. And just trying to figure out...
Well, that's the pH test, isn't
Yeah,
it? You know?
yeah.
Because
So-
it'll give us a good marker as to the improvements we've seen with the depth of talent and the overall ambition that the Boks will need to have against the All Blacks. And I think it was refreshing to see that the All Blacks looked like the All Blacks on Saturday. They needed that.
Oh,
Because I think if there was apathy on Saturday from a performance perspective, then I think there'd be huge question marks about, wow, has he got the pieces? You know, why is Nardi Surveyor standing out like he normally does? But fact is, their experienced players turned up in spades on Saturday and put a very, competent, cohesive performance together.
yeah, albeit against a team that only got back to their hotel room the night before, in my estimation. Let's chat a little bit about the upcoming All Black, two Test matches. Your early thoughts on that, Zellum?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good test for us. I think Ireland was a good indication of where the Boks are. I'm not saying the Boks haven't progressed since that series, but I thought that was probably obviously a much better test than the Wallabies, and I think the All Blacks will be there or thereabouts. A lot of history. But, if you look at the way that Rassie selected his team for the Wallabies game, making 10 changes like that has certainly kept everybody frosty for this series. Not that they'd need to, it is the All Blacks. But you kind of we spoke about this before, if they'd smashed the Wallabies with their ones by 50 points in both matches and then kind of, sorted back to South Africa, I think there'd be a chance that the All Blacks could catch these guys napping a bit. But I don't think that's going to be the case in this series. I think there is generally a sentiment about the Boks World Cup campaign in some quarters that they got damn lucky to win 3 playoff games by 1 point, and in the final they beat a team that was down to 14 players. And that sort of whole chatter would have got back to the Boks, and I think there's definitely an element of their motivation for this series to be let's just show everybody that we are the world champions, that we are significantly better than the All Blacks. I think that'll be a narrative that'll be in play for that series.
Yeah, Rassie doesn't miss a chance at a good narrative, and yeah. So, Scott, what you've seen? Yes, they were driving back from Kneisner, as you call it, Kneisner, and I asked you what do you think this point spread's going to be? Meaning, what are the bookies saying? And you were spot on. You're learning.
I'm learning.
You said
I'm growing.
You said between 6 and 8.
Yeah.
It's 7.5.
Yeah.
So the Boks are favored to win this game by 7.5 points, which is an impossibility, but meaning they're going to win between 6 and 8. 7 to 20 favorites. That means you get 35 cents back on each dollar you bet. For the Boks to be such favorites, and this is the business that these guys are in, they usually don't make a lot of mistakes. So is that fair in your estimation?
Yeah, I think it's fair.
Is there anything that you saw with New Zealand in those 2 tests against Argentina that would make you change your mind, or?
Well, it was chalk and cheese, wasn't it? The first performance, the first loss against Argentina, where Argentina piled into every kind of orifice of the game and caused disruption. For me, the All Blacks were too easy to read, very predictable, and played too much football. I mean, all of that does go out the window when you come to Johannesburg and Cape Town, because there are other elements in the ether that you come to Johannesburg, you know that you're going to be up against the best. So you got to be at your best. And the great thing about rugby when it comes to competition is that, you know, you're only as good as your opposition. And when your opposition turn up and put you under pressure, that's what makes for great test match rugby. That's why we celebrate this long history and heritage that these two guys, the biggest and the best there's ever been, going up against you. So two titans in Johannesburg to kick off this 2-test series is salivating. It should be salivating. And they're never doozies, you know, because they are high-performance games. They are high-scoring games. Okay. And I don't see that being any difference in Johannesburg, because I think the weather's going to be kind of for an all-court game. And we don't know, you know, in Cape Town what that weather could look like. No. But certainly in both, you know, it's going to be full house.
Oh,
the subscriptions are, you know,
oversubscribed by 8. Yeah. So there was 185,000 applicants for 15,000 tickets, which is unheard of. But again, it just underscores the success of the Boks, and people love a winning team. And a winning team the Springboks are. Zels, tell me, what do you think? Is there anything that you've seen from New Zealand that causing...
Yes.
Okay, please.
More than a century of history. Okay, so, I mean, you can never write the All Blacks off. We've been the Boks where people have gone, these guys are a joke. You know, these guys are at the low ebb. The All Blacks should just roll over these guys. And we pox wins against the All Blacks in South Africa that are surprising to the bookies. So I think the All Blacks, you can never write them off. They are intelligent. They certainly have enough firepower in that back line from a skills and athletic point of view to tear you to shreds. If that tight five comes anywhere near an A-grade performance, it's game on. So anything could happen. And especially in the world of rugby now, where a referee can change a game with a card, that does change the outlook. Having said that, I think the Boks are deserved favourites in this series, especially in the opener. You know, I think what'll be interesting for me is how the Boks navigate the scrum-off position now that Faf's going to be out for an extended period. What are they going to do there? How does that affect their game? And also, how do the Boks come out and look to play the All Blacks at altitude at this point of their progression under Tony? So,
okay. Since South African teams have left Super Rugby and applying their trades now in Europe, the 3 years before that, the All Blacks had a 73% winning percentage. Since then, I think it's gone down to about 65%. I think they were 24 and 15, or 25 and 14. I can't remember. Has leaving the Southern Hemisphere had an effect?
No, I think it's had a massive impact. I think, and it would have been the same if we'd stayed in Super Rugby and the Kiwis had gone to the URC and we were left playing the Wallabies. I think certainly the physicality that South African teams bring has added value to the URC, and they're definitely missing that in the Super Rugby Pacific. And I just think that South African teams can be competitive even when they don't have necessarily the skill set all the time, because we've just got this abundance of power in terms of the depth. We can call on players who are physical contenders. So our teams are always, from a combative point of view, they're always there. You know, it's always going to be a collision contest. And I think that brings the level of intensity to whatever competition the South African teams are in, that makes everybody sharper. So I think that's definitely been missing from Super Rugby Pacific. And you can see it in the All Blacks and the Wallabies in the Test arena.
Yeah. Scotty, your thoughts on them playing in the Northern Hemisphere now, and what that's done maybe to a team like the All Blacks? Certainly their winning percentage has gone down over the last 3 years compared to the previous 3 years.
Yeah, Australia, as we know...
New Zealand.
No, I know. I'm going to come on to that. Yeah,
apologies.
I'm talking about the Southern Hemisphere. I think, of course they are. They're lacking an identity now without their South African brethren. So that brotherhood now has kind of exploded, and it's been the URC has been the beneficiary. European rugby has been the beneficiary of it. Which was a collective decision and not wholly supported by those in the Northern Hemisphere. But the fact is, I just think it does make for better.
Yeah, some of your brethren have been very outspoken about it.
Yeah. Not huge fans of their inclusion and such. But it does leave a void in that Super Rugby Pacifica competition for sure. But I think that maybe accentuates and underpins exactly maybe what's wrong now with domestically and further down the leagues in Australia and New Zealand, is that player participation, conversion from, you know, teen to youth rugby and into senior rugby now is probably, what I'm seeing and reading, is not as healthy as it should be. So.
No, but there's a sharp rise in Mortal Kombat games.
Well, that's it. I mean, there's always socio-economic issues, and it's probably be one of the issues that has fallen in Wales, is that, you know, with the rise of the Premier League soccer and, you know, the rise of Cardiff City and Swansea City as soccer teams in the Championship, etc., that, you know, people are not just converting.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. And just for those people that are going to say, no, I've got my facts wrong, I probably do. But what I excluded in that analysis was the top tier teams. I took out Japan, I took out Uruguay, I took out Namibia, I took out Canada, and games like that, and just had them.
Took out Canada.
Gee, it was soul destroying. Yeah. So. What we should, let's end the show on this note. It was, I know you didn't get up, Scott, on Sunday morning, but I did, to watch Dricus. What an animal. What an absolute star.
What a machine. I mean,
and with the Boks, with Sia and Eben, which, so we know they didn't fly out that night back to Joburg. It was great to see them supporting Dricus. It was great to see the fight. And big shout out to him, and truly special South African sports weekend with him winning his match against the Stylebender, the last Stylebender, whatever it's called. Did you watch the fight?
I did. It was amazing. I was very impressed with the result. I thought the more that fight went on, I thought Stylebender had the perfect plan.
Yeah.
He was fresh. He was staying out of the fight. Dricus was sucking air. Yeah. I thought this is not going to end well. But then he caught him and got him to tap out. I thought it was fantastic. Great to see them make up afterwards. They're BFFs now. They're going to hang out in South Africa together. And I think apparently his manager has already said, you know, he wouldn't mind Dricus fighting Israel again. It's just what I've heard. So,
yeah, look, just another class movement from a South African, in terms of, you know, the putting everything aside and hugging in the ring. It was really special.
But apparently Dricus is now ranked 8th. He's moved up to 8th in Boksburg. So he may be the champ in the UFC, but he's only 8th.
8th ranked
in Boksburg.
Yeah. No, it was special to see. It was a good weekend of sports. Fantastic. Thanks for joining me, lads, and we'll have one or two more shows upcoming about the impending All Black game. Should be some good content. Thanks, everybody.